All right. Wait a minute. Why is it? Oh, it is. Okay. Everybody take a nice, big, deep breath and let it all go. I am here only to be truly helpful. I am here to represent him who sent me. I do not have to worry about what to say or what to do because he who sent me will direct me. I am content to be wherever he wishes, knowing he goes there with me. I will be healed as I let him teach me to heal. Amen. All right. So we've been playing with this magnetic concept, drawing things to us. And the course is always telling us we're attracted to hate and fear. But if we want to attract love, then we have to change things around a bit. And we have to be aware that the change took place because we left God, not because he kicked us out. And that God's definition is the only reality of truth, not mine. So it always requires me to recognize I'm the one that's chose wrongly or differently. And this isn't a reprimanding I chose wrong. It's an awareness I chose wrong because I'm not experiencing peace or connection or love. So even that's different than the whole sin and you're bad and you need to be, get the whip out and all that kind of stuff. All right, and Jesus says you can deny it, but you cannot lose it. In other words, nothing can affect the truth of who you are, except for when we cover it over with that thin veneer of black paint, but the rest of it's here waiting, and this will get scraped off as we begin to choose differently. All right, Jesus says then in paragraph 6, and I'll tell you page 233, paragraph number 6, it could be 234 possibly if it moved on to the next one. And once again, Jesus' reminder that the moment we made the seeming mistake, the answer was given to us. I did. Actually, yes. All right, so Son of God, be not content with nothing. And Jesus is trying to help us to be aware that choosing for separation is choosing for nothing. It's not real. But we have made that choice and made it appear to be very real in our experience to the point where we don't know what real is and we don't remember how to find it because we're so wrapped up in the lie. But again, he says, you were redeemed the instant you thought you had deserted him. And be very aware in this process that God only knows love. That's it. His dictionary is small. Doesn't have many words in it because he's coming from a place of oneness and connection, love. And our whole world is this combobulation of all kinds of things that all seem to be extremely important, valuable, and, impossible for us to let go of. And yet he's only asking us to have the little willingness at any given time to relinquish that hold that the ego has. All right, so we're going to start on paragraph number 7. And yet it does not matter how much distance you have tried to interpose between your awareness and truth. God's Son can be seen because his vision is shared. The Holy Spirit looks upon him and sees nothing else in you. What is invisible to you is perfect in his sight and encompasses all of it. He has remembered you because he forgot not the Father. You looked upon the unreal and found despair. Yet by seeking the unreal, what else could you find? The unreal world is not a thing of despair, for it can never be. And you who share God's being with him could never be content without reality. What God did not give you has no power over you, and the attraction of love remains irresistible. For it is the function of love to unite all things unto itself and to hold all things together by extending its wholeness. All right, so it does not matter how much distance you have tried to interpose between your awareness and truth. I really love that line because I think we so often think that this is going to take forever, or I have to, do whatever, I don't know. And it can happen in an instant if I completely relinquish the hold of everything on, on the side of the ego. And at the same time, because we have invested in it, we have reinforced it and reinforced it and reinforcement, it is likely that it will take some time for us to step backwards or retrace our steps, as I believe it says in the Course in Miracles.
I'm the only one.
But the point being is the moment will come when literally the whole thing can be gone. I don't have to keep redoing the steps when it really dawns on me of who I am. And I had a metaphysics teacher that always said, always hold it in the mind that you can do this now, but don't be disappointed if it doesn't happen. And I always thought that was a nice way to look at it. God's Son can be seen because his vision is shared. And what that means is in oneness, or in the connectedness of oneness, the vision is shared. We're all the same. There's nothing different. We just get, I've shared this before, everything here is the thought that we all live in, whether it's positive or negative. And when we remove this, we'll be in line with the Holy Spirit or Jesus, because Jesus is outside of the dream. He doesn't have all this stuff to contend with anymore. And another thing that I think is really cool, and the Course speaks of this, is that when Jesus got it, he sees us all the same because he has vision. He knows what truth is. So he doesn't see all the gunk that we hold in our minds. But until we make our choice to step outside of the dream and align with what our true vision or true truth is, we will still play in the arena of duality. So again,
the phrase I came across this week is, do I have the guts to let go of everything?
yes. And actually Ken's wife used to oftentimes in classes say, okay, there's a button in the middle of the room. Push the button and you're done. How many of you would like to push the button today? And yeah.
And that's what a holy instant is about. We let go for.
We absolutely, yes, yes. And that's, I absolutely agree with you, yes. And right now, that's all Jesus is asking of us, yes, is that moment. Because we're all so uncomfortable about letting go completely. So as we have those holy instances where I choose, I'm building that momentum, I guess is a good way to put it, to the point where one day it's like, yep, why not? And we can't force it, we can't push it, we can't make it happen sooner than it's ready to happen. Yes, it has to be our willingness. And I think one of the most beautiful lines in the Course is that line of the little willingness, because when you're in a pretty rough spot, the little willingness does kind of come up to the surface a little bit more. And he's not asking you to jump in the pond and fully, he's asking you to put your toe in and give it a try.
Yeah, but we're so busy thinking that we know everything, that we're willing to sacrifice.
Apparently
that
so.
for
Apparently
a little
so.
bit of what we think we're gonna gain from the choices we make on our own.
Absolutely.
And in most cases, those choices end up in disaster.
Yeah, like all the time.
I'm being kind.
Yeah, no, I know.
But,
Yeah.
and that's where we're at. We're not willing to drop our hands and say, okay, I give up.
But
And
isn't that the only other choice we're given, is to keep doing what we're doing or ask for help? So it's not like a multiple choice test. It's like the only other choice is, okay, so now I'm doing this, I'm riding around doing all these things, and then you know, then I, oh, okay, I could ask Jesus.
It is a multiple choice test though, and you've only got one or two choices, ego or Holy Spirit. That's your only choice. All the rest of it
So
is
that-
wishing.
So the only thing that's in being contented is that I either stop doing what I'm doing and ask for help, or I keep doing what I do. There aren't.
That's it.
That's
there's
it.
no other
Oh, yeah,
choices.
no other
It's
choices.
That's it.
Like, well, maybe I could do this for 5 minutes and then everything will be fine. I could still bake the cake with only some of the ingredients.
But the cake will never
You
taste
try
good.
bargaining it.
The bargain, again, yeah.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
next step- next step-
that and racing.
Yeah, right.
It's like you're like, good grief, you know, I better look that up in my thing for the right answer.
Well,
Because it's just one other, I don't know, and then you're all set.
Finally, when we're all tired of doing what we're doing, we realize, I don't know anything.
Well,
That's absolutely true.
yeah.
I don't know anything.
Well, the good part is that, you know, after a while in this course, you could get really smart all of a sudden and know a lot more things than you used to.
Mhm.
No,
Not that
you don't know anything.
Well, not that you're
Andrea.
gonna know, but you're gonna get closer than you used to.
Right, yeah,
It's-
right.
I think the main issue, and I was speaking with a course student this week, and she was under the impression, and it's just really getting down to questioning every ego thought you have,
Absolutely.
including the fact that, you know, she was like afraid of the Holy Instant because I'm gonna be obliterated.
Right,
And I
right, right.
said, I go, the course specifically says you will not be hurled into heaven.
Exactly,
You're not even
exactly.
here, but
Right.
aside
Right,
from
right.
that,
But questioning
fear.
that,
Yes.
because we have the happy dream first.
Yes, which is the
And I
gradual
said to
process.
her, I go, you'll accept the right side of this chart once and for all, when you're ready. It's
Not
not going to be
until-
pushed onto you.
No.
But that's what you're listening to.
Yes,
You're
exactly.
going to be obliterated.
Right.
If you go over there.
Yep.
So don't do it.
Well, that's the problem. We believe in the God we made up.
No, and that's what I'm saying, Harvey. It was great awareness for me.
Sure.
Because then it's like, I no to the no.
Right, right. And it's,
Colleen said, you have to have guts to step out and take his hand.
Yep.
Otherwise, you're gonna keep running with your own self.
and much like the prodigal son, you know, he took all the money and he went and did whatever he did. And there came a point in time where he realized this isn't it.
he's out there eating with pigs.
Right, right. And that's the desperate moment where you turn and face and go back to where you started. And again, you have to go and do your due, whatever that means for any one of us. And it could look very different on the outside from, you know, one person to another person. But until we get to that point where we realize I've exhausted, and, you know, Buddha, same thing. He did, you know, he fasted and he ate bird poop and dates, or I don't know what he did. And one day he just realized
He had it all.
he'd exhausted all the possibilities of being in control is what he had. And that's exactly what comes of it. But again, nobody can force us to come to that place. We come to that place as a result of exhausting all other possibilities.
But the other way we started out was that we were told if you do these things and you play games like this and you're a nice little girl, that everything's gonna be rosy and
Absolutely.
wonderful for you.
Yes.
At the end of your life, you're gonna go to heaven. And how, like, we swallowed all that as if, okay, we got it now. We're
Yeah,
gonna do
sure.
exactly what they say. We're gonna say 7 Hail Marys and 6 Our Fathers, and we're gonna be, ascend into heaven. So it's kind of like the opposite of that. Like, there isn't anything like that that's gonna do it. And I think that's probably also a scary place to be.
Right, but even with that story, and I'm not saying it's a story like it's a story, but with that concept, you were taught, and, you know, we can say they taught me, but we chose them to teach me, first of all, let's put that. And then, you know, you did all the things they told you to do, and you realize that's not the answer. And that's what caused you to look for something else, because you know that's not working. That's not, it wasn't what they told me it was, you know, how it was gonna, always gonna be cracked up to be, or whatever you want to call it.
I think but that's like the other mold that everybody's in, of, oh, everything will be fine as long as you do what I say. That's the rule, that's the ego's rule. What you
Yep.
do what I say, everything's gonna be fine, and you're gonna go, you know, to heaven with your shoes on or whatever. But, you know, that's not.
Yes, I've often, because I'm kind of the gooder one in the party, you know, I've often thought I'd like to tell all those people that were really obnoxious that it didn't matter which way you went, because you're still stuck. The healing doesn't come from either side,
Right, that's just so.
because they feel guilty because they didn't do it right, you know.
Right, so I think, yeah, we've all got that, something like that, but it's
Yep.
just interesting how there's only those two things.
Two choices. Yep. All right, so the Holy Spirit looks upon him and sees nothing else, because again, the Holy Spirit's outside of time and space. And what does he see outside of time and space? Nothing that has anything to do with time and space. No brainer.
Nothing to do,
There you go.
nothing.
Nothing. What is invisible to you is perfect in his sight and encompasses all of it. And again, you know, it encompasses everything. You know, this is the all. There's no limit to this. This is always a defined space. What is invisible to you is perfect in his sight and encompasses all of it. He has remembered you because he forgot not the Father. So he doesn't play, and this is nothing. He only remembers the Father. That's his only, you know, only word in the dictionary is father or love. Okay, we still have a whole lot of words in our dictionary, and we like to play with all of
We
them.
identify with this whole scenario that we
Absolutely.
made up. I
Absolutely,
mean,
you know,
You really have to let,
and then I'm the
It's
hero of the
true.
dream on top of it. Yeah.
Right. and I don't know all the
don't know.
millions of ways that my stuff comes up, but it comes up,
You know, when it shows up. Yep.
right?
Yeah, right.
Yep.
There it is. Every time it's written down, there it is.
Yes.
But, you know, I know that's not the end,
Right.
because he's never left me once.
Yes, and as we keep asking that awareness that he
And that's
has
all
not
he's
left,
asking for
yeah.
Is
Absolutely.
awareness
Hmm.
of what I'm doing,
Yes.
nothing,
Right.
anything out here.
Nothing,
He doesn't fix a thing out here.
nope, and he
It's
doesn't,
all up to me.
and he doesn't care what you've done or didn't do either. Only I do.
Right.
And you can't plan to not step in it.
That's a good one, I like it. And how true is that? My goodness, that's it, that was, we have to write that in the archives. All right, so I'm gonna read that.
How it works out for you.
Well, you know, because it worked out for you. Yeah, you all know how it works.
Yeah,
out.
that's funny.
One line.
I'm gonna read that line again because it's so precious.
There it is up there.
He has
Write
rem-
that down, so.
right, right.
I must be etched in my mind somewhere. I didn't say it. I don't.
I
know
hear
what
ya.
it means. But whatever I said, I mean, never mind.
I'm gonna read that line again. He has remembered you because he forgot not the Father. You looked upon the unreal and found despair, but we're stupid. We find despair everywhere we look, but we paint it with a little bit of pink paint. We go, "Oh,
Little
it's
blue.
not too bad." Or we have a
Totally blue.
little bit of positive. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. And yet it doesn't matter. It's all part of the dream that's keeping us from knowing what truth is. Yeah.
Eight rosy lips on
Right.
each other.
Yeah, such a beautiful line. Mm. All right, yet by seeking the unreal, what else could you find?
Nothing.
And he's trying to convince us that what we chose wasn't the best choice. He's not telling you you're bad or awful or anything like that. He's saying, went the wrong way. You said you wanted to go to Florida. You left from Cleveland and the sign says, welcome to Canada. maybe
You
it's a
know,
good idea to turn around.
It's like that, example you give when you tell you got red hair or
Oh, yeah,
You know,
you're 6 feet
you
tall.
hear
and we have
what you
purple-
want to hear,
No.
selective listening. And we don't hear the beauty and the love that's
That's right
coming
there, yes.
from what he's saying.
Yes, because we prefer the raucous shrieking.
Exactly.
You can't plan. So I think what I, as a religion, grew up with was it how you plan to step in it.
Mhm.
How they're telling you it's over there and it's over here and it's over here, so just don't go there.
Right.
And that plan didn't work, because I didn't go there, I went other places and the stuff was still there.
Mhm. And you who share God's being with him could never be content without reality. So what Jesus is saying, the only true essence of who you are would be joining with Jesus outside of the dream. That's the only place you're ever going to find what you're really seeking for. Now, obviously, within the world, it's a little frustrating because I'm not quite ready to be over here. And there are some shiny coins over here. So I think I'll just chase after a few of them, a few more of them. And the Course is saying, chase as much as you need to. Eventually, you'll realize none of them fill that spot. And then you'll gladly say, all right, what you got for me, dude? Because my way isn't working. And, you know, we read last week, and let me see if I can find the line. Okay, here we go. For the memory of God can dawn only in a mind that chooses to remember and that has relinquished the insane desire to control reality. So as long as I think I've got a plan, his plan isn't going to work. And again, this is, even that's not good or bad. It simply is an awareness. Yes. And again, if I want to go to Florida and I just saw a sign entering Canada, good piece of information.
Being good little boys and girls are continually trying to fix.
Absolutely. And I'm in control by the rules set up by something that I have accepted as something of
Yes,
value.
Yeah. There's no gravity here.
No. And you who share God's being with him could never be content without reality. What God did not give you has no power over you, and the attraction of love for love remains irresistible. And thank goodness,
How true.
because if there was a way, we'd have painted the whole thing. But that doesn't work. Only we covered up one little part of it, and we've focused totally on that, but the rest is waiting for us. And much like the prodigal son, the father's, you know, come over, come on home. I got the fatted calf for you. Everything's fine. But again, with the story of the prodigal son, when did he turn back and go talk to dad? When he had no other choices.
He had a little humility left in him. to get
Well, I
up.
think he had desperation.
Well,
Yeah,
he could have been arrogant and
well,
sitting
true.
there.
You're correct. Yes, yes, that is absolutely correct.
That's a little piece of work too, that arrogance, continued arrogance.
Yep.
how You know, everything is.
We
quite
think we know
a
everything.
deal to deal with, to look at, is how you see you can't get through. There's no, so then, yeah, it's a whole nother story, but.
Well, but you know, think about little children. I want to do it by myself. You know, as soon as they can pretty much talk, that's what they say. And isn't that us all the time? And, you know, we, again, the choice was made because we decided to do something. The returning home is, I have to relinquish thinking I know anything and know how to do it. Well, I've been, you know, we've been doing, I'm in control since the Big Bang. So it's kind of running the show here. And it can run the show all at once, but it's not going to take me home.
So when we don't get our way, thinking in terms of as little children, what do?
We
But
kick
have
and
a temper.
scream and we stomp and we cry and we whatever.
Absolutely.
And then lots
So-
of times, yeah, mom gives it to you anyways.
He came in with that idea.
Absolutely. Only in this idea, God says, no, 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 honey, you have to come over here. I'm not coming down there. Not be, right, yeah, exactly, because this doesn't really exist, and that would be absurd, because I can only be what I am, and what I
Yeah,
am
so
has
as to
nothing to do
fix
with
it.
that.
Out here is absurd.
Exactly. That's us. Very, very, very absurd. But, and, you know, I think that's one of the beauties of the courses. We've been that forever, but we didn't realize that that was the show we were running or dancing in. We just thought that was what you did. And the course is trying to tell us a little different perspective of the storyline. All right, for it is the function of love to unite all things unto itself and to hold all things together by extending its wholeness.
Yeah, and all we see is differences.
And, you know, that does make it a bit overwhelming, especially when we first begin, because
Absolutely.
literally everything we, you know, pounce on is duality. And he's telling us that oneness and joining is the answer. And we've set it up so that I project onto my brother what I don't want to look at on me, and then I point the finger at my brother. And somebody comes along and says, well, wait a minute here, you know, what you did to your brother wasn't very nice. You know, you're not getting out of here doing that. But I'm very addicted to doing that.
You
And
don't realize that what you're doing to your brother, you're doing to yourself.
well, you know, even though Jesus said, you know, love your brother as yourself, he didn't add that little extra in my remembrance of Catholicism. And we do love our brother as ourselves. We don't love ourselves very much, and we certainly don't love them.
Well, you can love your brother if you don't love yourself. So you really have to work on
Impossible.
yourself.
And the only way I can love myself is to relinquish this and be loved. I don't, Mary Ann doesn't figure out how to love. Mary Ann becomes love when she does not put her energy on anything but that choice. And it-
I always knew I was the homo people back in the kid, and I never realized that it's myself that I had to work.
Absolutely. And nobody else did either. And that's the trap. We just think that somebody else better change so I can be okay.
Absolutely.
But it never worked. And even that's another example of how many years of our lives did we try to manipulate the world to have it work for me?
Well, I can only speak for 85 of them, so.
Well, whatever. Yeah, he did. Yeah. All right, so on to paragraph number 7. While you believe that your reality or your brother's is bound by a body, you will believe in sin. Did I say 7 or did I say 6?
You said 7, but
Oh.
I think you're on 8.
Is that 8?
Where are you?
I don't know, where am I? I'm sorry. Well, it actually fit in there, okay, but that is not where we want to be.
She's confused.
All right, let's try that again. Here's,
We're having a hard time.
sorry, didn't mean to confuse. Paragraph number 8. That other paragraph was nice too. No, okay. The real world was given you by God in loving exchange for the world you made and the world you see. Only take it from the hand of Christ and look upon it. Its reality will make everything else invisible. For beholding it is total perception. And as you look upon it, you will remember that it was always so.
Yeah, right.
Nothingness will become invisible, for you will at last have seen truly. Redeemed perception is easily translated into knowledge, for only perception is capable of error, and perception has never been. Being corrected, it gives place to knowledge, which is forever the only reality. The atonement is but the way back to what was never lost. Your father could not cease to love his son. And boy, we should be so appreciative of that last line.
Imagine saying that out here, they lock you up.
Well, there's a lot of reasons we could be locked up in this
Yeah.
court. There's quite a few of them on the list, yes. All right, so the real world was given you by God. In other words, that was his gift to us. You know, that's the no-brainer. That's here it is, it's yours. You know, all his gifts came freely and continue to come freely. But the moment we decided we wanted to be in charge, we lost those and took on the opposite. The other choice is available if we drop this. We can't have this and have that at the same time. And, you know, to the degree I want to hold on that somebody's wrong, I'm wrong, you know, it's not fair, whatever you call it in the world, anxiety, fear, irritation, upset, as long as I'm holding on to those, I'm saying, thank you, I'd like to hold on to this and forget God. And that's,
Those are all the roadblocks. that we
those are
set.
the roadblocks that we
Yes.
set.
It
Yes,
floods awareness
exactly.
out of our minds.
So the real world was given you by God in loving exchange for the world you made and the world you see.
We just don't trust it.
We absolutely don't trust it. And, you know, I think initially it takes a long time to even understand a line
Correct.
like that. But as we even begin to understand it, even intellectually, to be able to live that fully 24 hours a day is,
Well, you know, there's a part of the right mind within us that is vying for what the wrong mind is pushing.
Mhm,
And we're in total conflict between the two minds.
absolutely. And if we take that another step, the course always says, it appears that there's two choices, but only one of them is real.
Real.
But while I believe in this, I believe there's two choices. But there's really only one, because love is the answer. And I can play here all I want, but it's never the answer.
And the ego's game is fixing the ego.
Oh, gosh, fix anything. Yeah, and it's, you know, it's like the tar baby that gets stuck with one paw and then he tries to help himself get out and then he got, you know, pretty soon he's stuck. No way out of
Spiritual path now.
Yeah. And it can happen very much in a spiritual path, seemingly, yes.
And the other ones who are not on the spiritual path, quote unquote, that's a whole new level of, okay, Jesus, what are we doing now? What's the real word? Show me now, please show me. Because you're seeing something that isn't real.
Thinking it's real.
Yes, it's really signaling a higher energy voltage or whatever. Like, how can they even believe this at all when you've been reading this stuff for a couple of years, you know, like, hold the phone, you know, but.
Mhm. Yeah, but,
The next step, the
Right.
next step in the challenge
yeah,
is, you know, to be with like-minded people, and even we don't get along off the phone.
that's correct.
To be with like-minded people is one thing, and to be with all those schmucks later on. I mean, let's.
Right, but the point being, if we all build a commune and all the Course of Miracles people we know all moved in together, I assure you, in the end of the week, somebody would want to kill somebody. Because that's not the answer.
Is that the toothpaste?
And which one of us will it be?
Which one will be today? Yes, and I,
told you, stop doing that.
right, I've even
It's
heard
your
of,
cat.
I mean, you said it right there, what you just read, you said it right there.
Hmm.
And we need to realize that we're afraid.
yes, well, I mean, think about it. I've lived here all my life, you know,
Right?
this is all the thoughts that we have.
And the simple one,
And you're offering me this? Well, what good does that do me? I can't play, I can't do this, that, and the other. I'd rather suffer and be in pain than have that.
you
I
think
mean,
life
literally.
is all about doing and having,
Well, of course,
and et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
And that's where we're totally wrong,
well,
Are we really saying I won't go, there's no chocolate there?
really.
That's what we want to say, I'm not going there, there's no chocolate. No, Kevin, there is no beer, that's why we.
right,
And the only
exactly.
way we're gonna find out is to experiment and experience
And give it a
what he's
shot.
talking about.
Yes, yep. Yeah,
And I was listening to Ken earlier today, and, you know, I want to go to the simplicity, and the simplicity of it is every time we have a reaction, the practice is, oh, I must be afraid of God.
yep, yep.
Exactly. That's it,
Period.
Yeah.
really.
And there is that line in the Course, the simplicity of salvation is I'm doing this to myself. Well, most of us, some of the people in the room are starting to catch this, but to really get that literally everything that upsets me is what I asked for and I have received because I
That is-
want it.
That is the bitch.
Yeah, it sure is, buddy. It sure
Please,
is.
turn that
You
around.
got it.
And accept that truth, that
But
I'm
that's-
causing this.
That's the key.
Yeah, absolutely
It
is.
unlocks
Yes.
the door.
I have a wish that I want it a certain way before the event even takes place. I've
Absolutely.
already made that choice and now I'm putting it on the event that's out there.
Send the dogs out.
Yeah, but I don't know consciously as the puppet that that's the setup of this choice for
Exactly.
preparation. Yeah.
I'm blindfold. It's like I'm blind.
But that's,
That's it, baby.
you know, that's like saying, yoo-hoo, I'm over here.
That's our wish.
Yeah.
That is utterly our wish.
Yeah.
To have it so.
And saying, look at me.
It's so nice. Hi, hello, dear ones. It's so nice later where Jesus says, and it's just a tiny feather of a wish, and it just flits around and maybe lands somewhere for a second, and then is off again.
Yep.
Once we understand it, it gets to take on this lightness, where at first the ego is like grinding, like this is heavy. I got to figure it out. I'm in pain. Oh my God, this is my wish. I got to stop wishing for this. And the more you test it out, like you said, you test it out, you keep testing it out. This kind of foreign territory where I'm trusting something that is beyond my understanding, but I'm letting go of my control. And then I keep trusting, and then suddenly the wish changes from this big, heavy, difficult, dark thing. Oh, I could let it just flit around. Maybe it lands for a second. Oh, I got upset. Someone cut me off in traffic. But by the next block, I'm like, whatever. It meant nothing. Didn't even happen. So I
Right.
love that part we get to where we get
That's
to
the choice. To
Yep.
be upset.
remember the wish is,
Yep.
and it's light. It's a light wish. And the ego wants me to think it's hard and
Oh, gosh, yeah.
big.
It's a citadel, never to be broken into. Yeah. And as you said too, that, it is a process as we keep choosing, it simply unfolds in front of us. We can't
We have to
bam our
trust in
head
the
against it.
process.
Yes, for sure.
That's the key.
Exactly. All right, so its reality will make everything else invisible, for beholding it is total perception. So as we keep choosing the other, we are making what is solid invisible, and we are relinquishing the perception that we projected because we're healing our mind. Nothingness will become invisible, for you will at last have seen truly. And that's the whole purpose of this miserable trip.
Those are big words,
Yeah, yes.
because we don't realize how much pain we're really in.
Oh, I know. Then there's that.
Here.
Yep,
Or how much fun it's
We
gonna be when
cover
we
it
let
up.
go of it.
right. Yep,
What it's gonna do to let go of it, just say, I don't know.
yep. Redeemed perception is easily translated into knowledge, for only perception is capable of, well, let me just stop there. Redeemed perception is easily translated into knowledge, and understand the word knowledge does not mean information. The word knowledge is knowing. the knowingness of who I really am. So redeemed perception is easily translated into knowledge, for only perception is capable of error. So when I perceive, it's coming from my ego. The moment I drop my ego, perception no longer exists. Reflection of that choice exists, but perception does not happen any longer. And those of you who are familiar with art, you know, if you're painting a picture of a foreground and a background, it's the perception that makes it appear to jump off the page. If it's just one, it's flat, it's not, there's no depth to it. And so again, this concept of one versus two-ness is a whole different world. I better do two over here.
There's no
Yeah,
comparison.
two over here, yeah. There's no comparison. They're different worlds.
Absolutely.
And we like a lot of two.
Love has no comparison.
Nope. No comparison because it's all one. How could it compare? Yep. All right, for only perception is capable of error and perception has never been. Well, how do you like that? Perception, and I'll read that again. Perception is capable of error and perception has never been. So when I drop perception, it just falls away. So again, you know, if you're in the midst of some really riled up experience in your life, you're going to take time to sit with it for a while and kick and scream and yell and do whatever you do. But when you can come to that place where you bring yourself to a little calmer state and ask, then you're saying, you know, this is what I see. This is what I believe. This is what I experience, Holy Spirit. And you keep telling me you got another story. I can't figure out the other story, but if I move the story aside, he will present another story. And I will come to know that the
Well,
error was nothing.
Throughout the whole book, he's telling us we don't know anything.
And that's a real tricky thing, especially
Remember, he doesn't
initially.
use words.
Right, no, he doesn't. And that's a tricky thing at the beginning, because we're still very acclimated to, I
Absolutely.
do know. And, you know, when I'm praying, I don't even know what I'm praying for. But I think I know what I'm praying for. And he's saying, you don't even know that, let alone how to solve the problem and bring truth to you. So
Well,
that's,
we think we know what's
well,
valuable. We
well,
don't
to
even know the
me,
value that's over the value.
no.
It says right there what you read, what we're relying.
And really, that turns out to be the mechanism, right, for choosing the right mind.
Well,
Because when I think I know, that means I'm automatically at the ego thought
you're
system.
already in charge. You're in
Very
control.
lost.
Absolutely.
And so in order to not be there, I have to say, workbook lesson 3, I don't understand anything.
Absolutely.
And then I have to say it over and over. I don't even go, well, I've been doing it for 10 years now, so now I do understand. I never understand.
Nope.
It's the moment that I say I don't understand, that I'm letting go of an entire thought system
Yep.
and opening up to a thought system that is not about my little pea brain knowing or understanding at all. That's why the development of trust, because my ego only wants to trust something that it knows, and it will turn the course into something I know. And then I'll repeat it to myself, you know, and then I have to recognize, oh, I'm not in that space of I don't know, and I'm in a 100% relationship with something I have to trust, right? That is beyond, it's above the purple line. So it's beyond my understanding. And yet, like you said, when I do that, I will keep having the experiences, it appears, as long as I'm not to the top of the ladder, and they will be different. So then I will go, well, I don't understand, but I just keep letting go, and this something else keeps happening.
That synapse
Right.
is what we're going for, that space between this and that between annoying and knowing.
Yes,
That's what we go
Yeah.
there first.
That's where the joke, that's where you get the joke from.
right.
Yes.
Yeah, so I got the joke. This
Yeah.
morning, I lost my purse. I was upstairs in my bedroom. I turned around, I took a shower, was in the bathroom. There are these two little rooms, about, maybe that did not even the fit, so. And I said, okay, I'm gonna put my purse down here. I'm on my way downstairs, blah, 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 blah. I get out of the bathroom and go, okay, where's my purse? And I said, okay, Jesus, let's have a good laugh. Almost 75-year-old woman just lost her purse. And I sat on the bed and I laughed and laughed and laughed. And then I had to call a friend because I was by myself. And I said, I have to tell you what I did. I just lost my purse. I said, I can't stop laughing. It's so ridiculous. And that was my, all morning, I've been. Yeah, I've been going through it.
That's not taking it serious.
Yeah,
I know.
correct.
And that's the beauty.
But what's so funny about losing your purse, you just gotta, you have to be,
Surprised.
you have to
Well,
be there.
Yeah, there you go.
What's not so funny, there's nothing in it.
Well, and so, okay, so maybe all that came together in my first big aha moment about losing my freaking purse, right?
Yeah.
That's the first time that happened to me. And I couldn't stop
Continue to
laughing.
live.
Right,
Yeah,
right,
and I
right.
couldn't stop. I said, this is what it's about. You're gonna chase your tail up in the bedroom and I'm there for a half an hour. What's wrong with you?
Still laughing.
Yep. So, Shara, did you have something you wanted to read? Did you have something you
No, I
wanted to
was
read?
just looking at what you read. and
Right.
saying, that appreciating that what it says about redeemed perception is easily
I can't hear
translated
you.
to knowledge and seeing that.
Yep.
For me, it's been to change or switch how I'm looking at it,
Absolutely.
change my perception. I don't see, but in the beginning of that paragraph, it says that,
And that's all we're.
we have to exchange the
Mhm.
world we made and the world we see. And that's what we're attached to, what we see. We're allowing the witnesses about, to determine what's real.
Exactly.
Our eyes, our senses,
exactly.
you know.
And it really is kind of irritating because everything we chose to be programmed to see through, feel through, hear through, experience through is all part of the lie. And yet that's where we've been playing for, since our first breath and even from the beginning of the Big Bang. And all of a sudden this comes along, oh, none of this is real. Just come on over here. It'll be fine. And well, how do I jump over there? But as you said, that beautiful word of exchange my world for his world. And the more I think we take in this idea of this is not the real world, what he's offering is the real world, and our trusting continues to grow. And as Harvey was saying about miracles and whatnot, and we so often in sharing in the group, we'll share, this is not the answer I would ever have come up with. And you start to really trust that if I relinquish control, something oftentimes way better and something I couldn't see, I couldn't expect, I couldn't have thought through in my, longest list that I could have had to resolving the problem, then our trust factor continues to grow where, okay, what you got for me, dude? Because my way's not working.
Well, what's really funny is when you're in a conversation with somebody and all of a sudden these words come out,
Oh, yeah,
where the hell did this come from?
absolutely.
This person could have never thought of that,
Nope.
never.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
In just everyday common
Mhm.
things,
Yeah.
happenings, this occurs.
Mhm.
And the miracle's in front of us all the time.
Exactly. But again, as long as I got, get over here. Ugh. As long as I've got a say, can't hear this. It's, this is dead to me, as long as I've got the control deal coming along. And
Well,
again, we have so many ways to control and so
Sure.
many seemingly important form and content experiences, but none of them are real.
And it's interesting, when you take that off, that's how it feels.
That's how it feels for a moment.
100,000 times.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, right.
Taking
And,
it
but
away.
then I don't have anything to hold on to, so we quickly grab it back.
Don't.
Oops.
And that,
Yeah, right. Eventually, right, eventually.
but little steps.
Well, if you have $1,000 in your purse, you wouldn't
That
take
was
any more money.
a different moment. It was just,
Exactly.
it was a moment where it was just too absurd, I guess. And maybe I've been free flying by the seat of my pants for a while.
Well, it is,
Just went along with that whole thing. Well, then, of course.
but just change the
person.
circumstances and become serious.
Well, and the thing about that is, I mean, you know, the purse was in the house, because nobody else is in the house, okay? Nobody else put it somewhere even. And it's like when the awareness, right, when the awareness of my purse is gone, comes to light, it's almost like you're inflamed inside of, oh my gosh, what happened to my purse? How could, and it's like, it's so much more intense than it's
Yeah.
here somewhere,
Yeah, it was, that's weird. I mean, I
Yes.
guess maybe that was the whole answer, was that's what made me laugh, but
right?
I didn't have to get my keys right now, but I had to get them sometime. It was more like, how could this happen? Like, and then I thought, well, of course it happened, because that's the way my ego mind.
That's how you set it up.
Sure.
It's clutching on to this thing, that's my purse, it has everything I.
Oh, yeah. And just
Yeah.
look at how much we put identity to our purse or our phones or
That's
whatever.
the whole thing.
Yeah.
My purse is a stand-in for this identity.
Correct,
You
yeah.
know, and anything and everything is a stand-in for this
Identity.
seeming identity.
Yes.
That I
yes.
think I'm afraid I'm going to lose. And in the moment of that holy instant, there is such an incredible relief.
Right.
And then, yeah, you
Mhm.
can't stay there.
Right.
Because
That's
I'm
why
not-
you feel
I'm
that
not-
emptiness.
Right. Right. I can take a peek, but I'm not ready to do this.
Right.
But if you think about, the size of this, and every time you ask for help, a little piece of the edge falls away, so that the next time you're not as solid into this, even though, yeah, you're gonna go back and forth and back and forth. This is not as big a threat as it used to be. And I'm gonna read that last line again. Which one is it? Okay, redeemed perception is easily translated into knowledge, but only perception is capable of error, and perception has never been. So again, no matter how solid, and if you think about balloons, we know a balloon looks very solid, but if you take a pin and it just, well, we don't have we're not using our pins properly at this point. But that's really it. When I realize I just have to push the button, or not push the button, pop the balloon, it's all gone. But we see that balloon as so solid.
What's that?
Blown air.
Yeah, and I keep blowing air in, yes, very much
What's
so.
that? Place in there, of course, the projection
Makes perception.
Perception.
Absolutely. And we love perception because that's the way I maintain my separated state, and somebody else is at fault.
We don't realize.
We don't realize we set ourselves up that way.
But maybe that's exactly what I experienced.
Could be.
Because all of a sudden, I didn't know where it was, and I said, well, I don't know who did this, but I certainly.
I don't know who did
I
this.
didn't just turn around and be upstairs. I wasn't even in the basement. There's not another soul in my house. So who did it? That's what made me laugh, was that I did it to myself.
Yeah, who can I blame?
And whatever,
Yeah.
find someone.
Sure.
I mean, there's no, it's always me, but at that moment, it was like, it's me, but this is just too crazy. And it just,
We don't look at the facts, we look at the story.
Exactly. And we're so good at that.
It's like that story Ken talks about when he's in his apartment.
Oh, right.
He had this like intense pain behind his knee that it felt like somebody hit him with a hammer. And he said, I turned around. Nobody was in the house except the cat, and but I turn around. And that's it. I'm always turning around because I'm waiting to use that finger, you know?
Or you trip on the sidewalk
That's what I did.
and you say, who the hell did this?
Yeah.
Well, it's a damn sidewalk, right?
Right,
It's the damn sidewalk, yes.
But
Yes,
no, it's-
yes,
Blame,
it's
blame,
yourself
blame.
that's
That's our
got-
middle
you know,
name,
something.
blame.
Not my fault.
yep.
And nothing happened.
All right, so all right, so being corrected, or when we choose, it says being corrected, it gives place to knowledge, which is forever the only reality. So I have to choose to allow him to show me what reality is. And there it is, then perception falls away. The atonement is but the way back to what was never lost. Your father, excuse me, your father could not cease to love his son. So no matter what has ever happened in our perceived dark space, it has absolutely positively no effect on what truth
It's
is.
not what we believe.
Well, no, it's obviously not what we
Okay.
believe.
We
Yeah,
made up. What we thought about ourselves, we put on God.
absolutely.
And that's the God we worship.
Exactly.
And we fear.
And we fear, yeah. But God is just love. That's all. And like the prodigal son and the father, he was waiting for his son to return. No judgment, no attack, no, you were stupid. How dare you spend all the money?
He wasn't asleep,
Just
he
come
woke
here.
up.
Exactly. And to me, that's, I mean, talk about a beautiful story, you know?
Really?
I like that one better than most of the ones they've been telling us for a long time.
That a line that I discovered a couple weeks ago, determined to stop sleeping with dreams of death. Determined to not remain asleep in dreams of death.
Right, and the reason why it talks about dreams of death is because literally choosing this was as the result of killing off God. So this storyline is based on death and the end of something. In oneness, in eternity, there is no death.
We're serial killers.
We're serial killers,
God.
yes,
Son,
absolutely,
ourselves.
yes, yes. And we'd love to point our fingers at the seeming real serial killer and get all wrapped up in their stories of what motivated them to do it. And wow, this is really fascinating. All the time hiding behind the cloak. That's us.
I saw him on the news, Marianne.
Uh-huh.
That I saw him on the news, the serial killer, and that definitely wasn't me.
No, that's the girl. You're an innocent victim. They're the bad guys. That's why we all love the really seemingly bad people in the world, because I can hide behind the cloak of, well, they're bad, but I'm a little bit better. And Ken would say, you know, and then we'll take a break. Ken would say, when we're born, we get two lists. One is the one I put the things that I've done wrong. The other is the list that everybody else did wrong. And our only goal is to have our life end so we can prove to God our list is shorter than the other person's or the other people. Yeah. You know, I did a few things wrong, you know, I could have done better, but look at them, because again, the whole attention is off of me, put it on somebody else, and I can pull off again. I'm the innocent victim of circumstances beyond my control. The whole while, I'm the one that made the choice to play in the arena of separation.
And that's what we have in our mind.
That's in our
that
mind.
makes up the secret dream.
Exactly.
We know that, but we gotta get rid of that. So we made the world's dream
Here we
to
go.
cover this.
Exactly. And it's worked really well. It's worked really, really well. All right, we're gonna take maybe like a 5-minute break because I have company from out of town. So quick break, and then we'll come back and play some more.
Okay, well, we're gonna try to collapse time.
All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about idols, because idols is, thank you, is the word that the Course uses that represents everything that we replace God with, which is like everything. But here's the definition in Ken's glossary. An idol is a symbol of the substitution of the ego for our true self or God, a special relationship projected onto people, things, or ideas, a false belief that there can be something other than and separate from God, and it's called the Antichrist. So if you've been looking for who that is, look in the mirror. I'll read
Isn't it
that.
like just any idea we have that isn't?
Well, again, it's anything, my thought of thinking what I think I know about anything. It's this is God, this is, the barrier that keeps in front.
In your mind. That's an
Yep.
idol.
Yep. So I'll read that again. An idol is a symbol of the substitution of the ego for our true self, capital HS, or God. So absolutely anything that's a substitute for God is considered an idol. In 1 second. And I can remember, in Bible class or whatever, they would talk about, what's the guy that went up on the mountain and got the 10 commandments? Moses, thank you. That Moses went up on the mountain and he's doing his praying and all that kind of stuff. And they're down there getting wild and crazy and building idols and whatever. And, that was kind of me growing up thinking that's what idols are. Well, I don't do that.
They were afraid down there.
Well, of course they were. Yeah.
Until they started building
Yes.
whatever the.
Right. But to me, the idea of the Course is it's not those fancy shiny gold objects. It's literally everything.
Everything in your mind. That isn't of
That's-
God.
That's a whole different party.
Words.
Words, thoughts,
Words,
fears, yes,
yeah,
you name it.
Or, the verbalization or the writing of thoughts,
Correct.
which are beliefs that, thoughts just happen over and over again. It becomes a belief. Those are the idols I want to look at.
Everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the good
And it
news
all
of that,
starts with a thought
right,
in
the
the
good
mind.
news about that is we got lots of places to practice, but we have to understand idols don't mean this image here. It means literally, again, think about, this is the window there, clear,
True.
clean, and it's all covered up with, gunk. And the gunk is all the beliefs, or as Soul just read before break, I'm never upset for the reason I think I'm upset for something here, but that's not even what I'm upset about. I'm upset because I've chosen a barrier that keeps me from knowing who I am. And then I call the barrier by specifics of it's this person, it's that situation, it's that relationship, it's that. And to totally turn your world upside down and find a new way of looking at the world takes a bit of practice. A lot of bit of practice.
So would you say it's also thoughts about God?
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
Really attached to what.
Yes.
What God represents to us individually.
Yes. Or the word
God did
love.
this or God did that. Right.
Yes. Or the word
Okay.
love. We have thoughts around what does love mean? And this is saying, again, you have to push aside what you've accepted as reality of what something is and open the door to, I don't know. I don't know. Period. Yes. There you go.
And
About anything, about, you
empty
name
your
it.
mind of everything.
Yes,
That's a-
come with totally empty hands.
It's not saying most things.
That is the
It's
key,
everything.
right there.
And it's important to realize good and bad, because we sometimes think, okay, I just get rid of all the things that upset me and irritate me. It means I don't know.
So God is like, no thought.
Well, yes,
Yes, there's no thought.
it's the opposite of thought, so no thought, correct?
With a
Yes.
period after.
With a period, yeah.
God isn't a
A
concept
big
that
period.
we've made up. It's all
Yes.
false.
So if it's symbols, words are symbols of symbols. Is that, am I?
Yes,
Life
yes,
removed
Okay.
from
reality.
what
So
reality
that's
is,
true.
yeah.
Then, so, lately, but since I'm getting the song, that the song comes through the whole thing.
Right, it doesn't have specific
It
notes,
doesn't
it's
matter
the
if
whole
you're
thing.
Maria Callas or what you are, the song comes, sings through yourself, and it creates, it has a different quality to it. But it
Exactly.
can't, you're not gonna, that isn't God either, but it's just how.
When you say God is and you cease to speak, you're close.
Yeah, right, yeah, exactly. All right, so again, it can be a relationship projected onto people, things, or ideas. So everything. Because when we look out and, if you look at some of the first couple of workbook lessons at the beginning of the book, it says nothing in this room means anything. Well, what? How do I live in that space? What is he talking about? And what he's talking about is if we've put an identity on the guilt and had a face of it, and I look at the face, I think the face is the problem. The face is not the problem. It's the guilt behind the face. And as long as I'm looking at the face, which is a specific, I'm never going to get to the true cause of what
He tells us
happened.
We need to look at the specific.
Well, we
and
start with
the
that.
general.
Yes, we start with that, yes. But eventually it'd be like, oh, I've lost my peace, help. I don't have to dig a hole in everything that's going on and, go to 14 more therapists or whatever, yeah.
We need to know.
Exactly. And we need again to do whatever any one of us have to do that feels like it's important to go through to get to the point where we realize none of those were important. Letting go of my attachment to things is the importance, but I can't do that fully until I'm available to be empty.
You know what's really crazy? And I wasn't in the Course in Miracles, but I swear Jesus was sitting on my shoulder or whatever.
Mhm.
Because at one moment, when I was at the bottom of wherever, I finally, in tears, I said,
I don't know.
I give up. I have no more answers.
That's it.
And I
That's the
think my
place.
life began to change.
I agree.
And believe me, it didn't come from Harvey.
No, no. And I think every person in this room, whether it was subtle or, obviously pretty, visible in that respect, has had these moments. To me, it's like the Course is teaching us how to have that on a more regular basis.
Well, the whole thing, he's telling us, we need to recognize that we are miserable,
Yes,
And
big
own
time
that-
importance.
that we are miserable. You don't have to hide it any longer.
Yep,
And I did a lot of hiding.
all of this too. Yep. All right, it is a false belief that there can be something other than and separate from God. And then Jesus goes on to say, and that's the Antichrist. So our belief in separation is the Antichrist. And I know that's a little hard to swallow at first, but literally, if you think of it from the perspective of, I've literally chosen against who I am. That's the opposite, the Antichrist.
Yeah, all it means is, against.
Yes, against Christ, yes. Yeah.
So, in that moment, Christ is the enemy.
Definitely, he's the other team. And we got to get him so that we can survive. And that's, again, initially, I think, at least in my experience, a little hard to swallow that whole concept whole. And yet, eventually, we will start to digest that to the point where, oh, it's that deeply seated, and that's what's keeping me from knowing who I am. And as we become more desirous of that connection with who I really am, we're happy to realize I'm going the wrong way and I have to turn around and go the other way. And I don't have to add, I'm a bad person because I went the wrong way, or, any of that kind of thing. It's just simply turn around and go the right way. And that's all he's asking us to do is turn around and go the right way. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to step over your words.
It's only hard if you've been raised as I was, as the Antichrist, when I was in my grandmother's church.
Mhm.
The Antichrist is something out there.
Oh, yeah, of course.
So accepting
Mhm.
personal culpability is.
Yeah.
This is a thing I'm running away from.
Yes.
But in the chorus, you're returning to yourself, and anything else that's not, that is not,
Correct.
period.
And, I've often said, Zita, if we could walk in this room completely and leave everything that we've ever learned before outside of the door and walk in with an empty slate, and this was presented and we go, okay, yeah, that's nice. Okay, yeah. It would be very simple. But because we always walk in with all our beliefs, our concepts, our, religious, social, whatever, and,
You name it.
you name it, it's
Hit the
there.
blocks.
Yeah.
Well, then that's the most interesting part of it all for me is that I, came in on that same boat with this, you have to do this, this, and this, and this to be saved or something.
Right.
And I just, somehow it just kind of melted off of me in meditation. And they couldn't really put their finger on me and say, you're not doing it right, because I was the one who felt comfortable. So it was interesting to be a part of that group. We do this, and this, we go to church every Sunday. And I would go with my mother because she would sometimes, during their thing, they would give the kiss of peace, and she would look at me and she would never, when I was, young, she know she loved me, but she would never say, peace be with you. But in this service, she would say, peace be with you. It's like they invented it. And I've been thinking peace be with you since, before that. And so it's just interesting to watch them kind of, they melt away. They don't melt away, but their idea doesn't have any legs at all. And it just goes away. And then they don't come back with anything that's of any more use than what I'm doing. So it's just very interesting to see how that, maybe I answered my own question I had today.
There you go.
Of how,
See how easy.
how is it that I could be raised in a place like that and get told this and get told that? Everybody else is doing these things and I'm just not, I'm there, but I'm not, I'm with them, but not of them, like, I guess. And I wasn't, so I had a deeper experience, because I didn't have to chat about somebody's hat or what they look like in the church. I just would sit there. So that's interesting.
Yep.
Because I wondered how, when does it go away? Well, it's gone. I don't need, I didn't need it. I didn't hurt anybody.
Right.
And it went. And,
All right,
Well,
we're
there is
gonna,
such a thing as spiritual DNA, and I think I got it, you got it, everybody in this room.
well, yeah,
A little bit,
right.
there's a little bit of a twist where it all didn't go in, but everybody's coming, I think.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, the course specifically states everyone is going to get it.
There's only one mind, right? But you have this level of peace, a level of self-awareness, and nobody else has it. Or it doesn't matter. It's like it doesn't, it's just, we're all there the same, and somehow I'm having a better time with it.
All right, we're gonna turn to text 619. And it's called the Antichrist. We'll dig a little into that.
It was very helpful to me one time in study where I'm raised Catholic, and so I was scared of this, and when with the title, I was like, oh, I shouldn't even look that way. I shouldn't read it. And he made a joke and said, well, what about the Uncle Christ? so, so now I always just think of it as the Antichrist,
Yep. It's all the way at the very, oh, I'm sorry, never mind. I was thinking it was teacher's manual, but it's not. It's in the text. All right, so the Antichrist. What is an idol? Do you think you know? For idols are unrecognized as such and never seen for what they really are. That is the only power that they have. Their purpose is obscure, and they are feared and worshipped both because you do not know what they are for and why they have been made. An idol is an image of your brother that you would value more than what he is. Ooh, there's the line to underline, huh? Idols are made that he may be replaced no matter what their form. And it is this that never is perceived and recognized. be it a body or a thing, a place, a situation, or a circumstance, an object owned or wanted, or a right demanded or achieved, it is the same. And once again, this black and white, one or the other unequivocal concept comes into play with this course, which again, initially, I like a little gray here. I don't like this black and white stuff. But eventually you come to realize, thank goodness there isn't any gray, because I'm either choosing for love or I'm choosing something else. And initially that's a little hard to take, but as I become aware that choosing something else than love keeps me from connecting with love. And if I truly want love above and beyond anything else, and and especially being right, which is like 90% of our parties, and to realize I don't know. And there's Ken had mentioned something like, even if you in the world are right, you're still wrong because you're choosing for duality instead of oneness. And if you step up above and look at it from that point of view, it changes the storyline quite a bit.
That's about you're not on the battleground then.
Correct. Yeah, rise above the battleground. All right. So what is an idol? Do you think you know? And of course, I think I know. And as I mentioned earlier, the idea of the fatted, the golden calf or whatever, we would think that would be the idol he's talking about, but that's not. It's literally everything. For idols are recognized as such and never seen for what they really are. So we set this up in a way where we didn't understand what they were for. We thought they were just put there and now I gotta, walk around them. And instead we put them there so that it would be a block to our awareness of understanding. That is the only power that they have, and it's the power we've given them. We've made these idols valuable, which keep us from turning towards love. And they work pretty good for a little while, drugs, alcohol, cigarettes, sex, shopping, working, whatever it may be, it keeps us very occupied for a time. But then there's always that turning point where I gotta have a little more drug, or I have to have another drink, and I have to have another cigarette, whatever it may be, I gotta have more. And it's never a quenching experience because there's always, seek but do not find. And once again, since we're not always aware of that, begin to pay attention to observe, wow, look, I got that. It was nice. I liked it. But tomorrow I want another, and I want another, and I want another, and I want another. Or the concept of buy a brand new car, and then I have to park it real far away so nobody scratches it. Or as soon as I pull out of the driveway, oh my gosh, my insurance is going to go up, and blah, blah, blah. It's never, it's like one split second, it's okay, and then it's down to, there's a problem
So
again.
your idol keeps changing colors.
I guess you could say that. And it's always rotting more.
Right, yeah, there's always, it's not.
Yeah.
Those idols I don't worry about. It's the other idols, like,
Yeah.
being addicted to a victim mentality or lack.
Oh,
of
yeah,
love,
well, same thing.
or being mad all the time.
Yeah.
And somebody said, recently I was listening to on a podcast, he said, well, the way we are, matches the course. The way we are, we want to feel X way, so we attract the circumstances that bring us that feeling.
Yes, because
Right.
we're,
That's another way to look
right,
at it.
right.
That's the idol, right? What you just
Yeah,
said is the
the
idol.
idol.
The idol is that we want to attract something that's going to take us to another
Keep
place.
us right where we.
Keep us where we want to be, yeah.
Exactly, because well, for one thing, I want to be me, and that
Yeah.
makes me be me, even if it's something I say I hate.
Yeah, the
It's still,
identity.
right, it still fits that package of, look, there is a me, even though I hate it.
Mhm.
Yeah. So their purpose is obscure, and they are feared and worshiped both because you do not know what they are for and why they have been made. So it's like I walk in, I am an innocent victim of circumstances beyond my control, and all is good in the world. And I will forever have to point a finger at something or someone else, or judge or attack them so that I can feel okay. But I always do that in a divisive way, because my brother can never be the same as me as long as I'm pointing a finger at them.
So you're queen of the island
Yes.
the whole time, and
Well.
nobody can get over you, and you have to keep guarding your space and guarding your things.
Yep.
and guarding
Who's
your-
on the throne, baby? It's me. Yeah. An idol is this again, the favorite line in the paragraph. An idol is an image of your brother that you would value more than what he is. And what is he? The Holy Son of God, just like you are. But if we see him through another image, which we most frequently do, it's about, am I gonna hold that image of my brother, or am I willing to offer it to find another image? And be very aware, our eyes are trained to see, feel, not just our eyes, but to see, feel, experience, and prove that my brother is wrong. So if we're depending on our eyes to change so that I can then make a different choice, it's not gonna happen. Because it was set up to be that way, so that I would never relinquish control over that button.
And the thing we're defending is always being attacked.
Oh, yeah. And, let's face it, in the world of me being attacked, or someone picking on me, or being mean to me, whatever it may be, pain, pain, pain. But it's because I identify with this character instead of who I am. All right, I'm going to read that one more time because that's a juicy one. An idol is an image of your brother that you would value more than what he is. And again, the only way I could really offer that to him is if the story about him is gone. I cannot hold the story of my brother and be out here. I have to let that go and say, Holy Spirit, I want to align with who you are.
Do you also think that it's a way to get to that part of him? So you're seeing him as something other than love.
Well, yeah,
and you can work on it long enough, and then that doesn't hold any water at all, and then that's a way, that's like the point where like we all come to this, like with our aggravations, and say, this doesn't work, that doesn't work, and we come here to see how does it work, and then
Yep.
we're told, like that's like the only way through it, the only way to it is through it.
exactly. Yeah. And, it's a bit of a challenge, certainly it's getting easier for me, but there's still moments where somebody says something or does something and we're in the world. But to come to a place where no matter what somebody says or somebody does or what happens in the world, and I remain totally, completely at peace, to me is a very noteworthy goal. Not there yet, would love to be, but getting closer. And I don't stay in the hole as long either. All right, so idols are made that he may be replaced no matter what their form. So again, it doesn't matter what form or what irritation, what kind of upset, subtle, huge, gigantic, doesn't matter. And I've often said, broken fingernail or somebody bombed my house, same thing. I've lost my peace. And when we can make it that simple, that covers everything. I don't have to go anywhere. And it is this that never is perceived and recognized. And again, we don't realize that the whole world is our playground, pulling us in one step at a time. Where did I put that chart? It was here. The whole world, oh, here it is. The whole world is about, here he is, come play. I got things for you. Come on over here. Everything's good. And it doesn't matter if it's positive or negative. Keep it going. Keep Mary Ann the hero of the dream, and all is good in the world. And it's me against the world. All right. And it is never perceived and recognized, be it a body, a thing, a place, a situation, or a circumstance, an object owned or wanted, or a right demanded or achieved. It is all the same. So there's nowhere we can't examine or observe that could reveal another underlying pin that we can take out of the belief of this world. You know, Ken sometimes would describe it as a house of cards, and if you could pull out the bottom one, the whole thing would collapse.
Oh, yeah.
And literally, it's nothing. It's this thing that's just well, again, like the balloon. It appears very solid, but we know, but we still see it, perceive it, experience it as being very solid. And I'm not willing all the time to let go of my impression, my perception of what is real. And as Sol mentioned earlier, I gotta be willing to let him take it. Nothing Marianne can control will take me to the place that is being offered me. All right, on to paragraph 2. Let not their form deceive you. Idols are but substitute for your reality. In some way, you believe they will complete your little self for safety in the world perceived as dangerous, with forces massed against your confidence and peace of mind. They have the power to supply your lacks and add the value that you do not have. No one believes in idols who has not enslaved himself to littleness and loss, and thus must seek beyond his little self for strength to raise his head and stand apart from all misery the world reflects. This is the penalty for looking not within for certainty and quiet calm that liberates you from the world and lets you stand apart in quiet and in peace. This world of idols, and is the veil across the face of Christ, because its purpose is to separate your brother from yourself. All right, so let not their form deceive you. Well, we let the form deceive us 24 hours a day. And again, so much of the practice of the course is the observation. Pay attention. Are you being pulled into something of the world, you know, another idol, obviously, that you think the form has some value to you? And again, the form is not where we're going. Idols are but substitutes for your reality. And the course is not even asking us to stop the substitutes. It's asking us to be aware, I'm using this substitute. You know, I've given the example before that Helen used to like to shop, and she and Ken would go shopping every Saturday, and the next week they would return half the stuff they bought the last week. But on some level, Helen was very aware she was doing that to avoid Jesus. And when they were all done, they would go back to her apartment or his apartment and they would pray. It was sort of like, okay, I will appease you, God, you know. But the truth wasn't the highest on the list. But eventually there came a moment where she got the message, you don't have to do that anymore. And Ken came to pick her up and she said, I don't have to do that anymore. But it wasn't because it was taken away from her. It wasn't a sacrifice. It was, today was the day I became aware that's not a requirement any longer. And, you know, I've often thought that all these idols, all these substitutes, where we're sitting right now are literally our security blanket. Because if I'm too afraid of the love of God, I need those things. And for someone to try to take those away from me is not beneficial to me. And I know I probably shared this story of Helen, and I think Rose shared it not too long ago, of Helen and Ken, where she had an issue with somebody, and then Ken was trying to help her work through this and make suggestions, of which she followed. And the next day he came to pick her up and she said, don't you ever do that again. Because it wasn't coming from here. It was coming because I'm doing the right thing that somebody told me was to do. Very different than that connection of the knowingness that the Course is talking about. When I'm really connected with love, I will automatically respond from love. And until then, I'm just not spiritually mature enough to be at that place. And that, again, is not good or bad. It's just a fact, just like a child walking across the room. If they took a step and fell on their knees and are crying, that's where they are in consciousness. No, it's not. They're doing what they're supposed to do. Eventually, they'll get up and walk across the room without thinking, as most of us do most of the time, I think. But in order to get to that place, it requires the steps of development that are required to get to that point. So observe yourself. Oh, I'm sitting here thinking, I can remember years ago writing goals, like 100 years ago before goals became popular. And I'm, writing along and I'm, oh, that's right, God. Oh, let me put God up on the top. Well, God wasn't on the top. All these other things were on the top of God. But, he started to move up a little bit further.
If you can't have all those things, maybe God will do.
Yeah, maybe he'll work after all. But we have to be very honest with ourselves of, do I really want the peace of God in this moment, and this moment, and this moment, and this moment? Or do I still want to be right? Do I want to judge my brother? Do I want to attack my brother? And again, don't stop doing those things. Just become aware that it's not God that's saying, Marianne, you're not allowed in heaven yet because you're not good enough. It's me that's choosing to replace God by an idol that I cherish more, or I'm too afraid of love, so I have that as my security blanket because I'm just not ready for it yet. All right, so that's the only power that they have. Their purpose is obscure, and they are feared and worshipped both. I'm in the wrong paragraph. Sorry about that. All right, so idols are but a substitute for your reality. In some way, you believe they will complete your little self for safety in the world perceived as dangerous, with forces massed against your confidence and peace of mind. I'm going to chop that up a little bit. In some way, you believe they will complete your little self. So if I think there's something in the world that's valuable and necessary for me to be okay today, I need that. Again, that story of Helen, that she had an image of going shopping with Jesus, and they went to a store and there was some pantsuits, and he handed her one and said, here you go, this is all you need. And after he walked down the mall a little bit, she ran back in the store and grabbed a whole handful. And he turned around and said, oh, you think you need more? Okay, you don't really, but if you think you do, by all means, take them. That's not reprimanding, that's not judging, that's not attacking, that's not, you should be somewhere else. That's taking you where you are and knowing that there will come a point in time in your classroom where one will be plenty. And until then, I need the other ones. Not because they're
And
valuable or real, because I believe they are. Yep.
it feels like humility and denial are kind of part of this.
Mhm.
If I feel like I want to be further along than I am, and so I'm trying to deny like my actual classroom where I am,
Yep.
because I wish I was over there already. And then humility is being able to just go, this is where I am. And there's no shame in it. This is a perfect classroom if I regard it as a classroom and stop trying to get the victory over God.
Yeah.
Right? I'm trying to deal with my guilt by saying, I'm not doing that. I don't do that anymore. I only need one. And God's like, you don't have to do all that.
Nope.
Just be in the classroom you're in, look at it with me, and observe how it will start to quietly melt away.
Yeah.
But it's the ego is so tricky that it sets it up that way, that I don't want to do that because I'm guilty if I do that. And then I hold the guilt in place by going, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, and
When it
he's
will serve
looking at
purpose.
you saying, you're a holy son of God. And I say, oh, no, 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 you don't understand. I'm the home of evil, sin, and darkness. Yeah,
Yes. And then still not a problem. Okay, you're the home of evil, sin, and darkness. Let's look at that and watch how it's not true.
yes.
It doesn't matter how far along you think you are on the path, because, something will come up and show you.
Yeah.
I was talking to somebody last week, and we had talked the week before, and then, oh, maybe I will start going out again. And then I started thinking about this person who I turned down, and why did you do that? And it's like a program.
Oh, yeah.
I guess, where is this stuff coming from? And I've been doing more meditation and more reading in the course, so this stuff comes up.
Because what do you really want? Yeah. Yeah.
Or whatever it is, how I amuse myself.
Yeah.
In the
And we're so good at it. Yeah.
And that's almost like the celebration, because excellent. I'm letting it come up now.
Oh, yeah.
I'm less afraid, so that I will allow this to come up so that I can forgive it.
Yes.
So instead of going, oh, well, I'm not doing it right, stuff's coming up.
Yep.
Oh, I'm doing it right, stuff's coming up.
Mhm.
I can forgive this, and I couldn't if I didn't let it come up.
Yep. And I think you have to become spiritually mature enough that you're excited about that. Initially, it
Or
doesn't
so
feel
you-
that way.
Or see the humor.
Yeah, or you see the humor in it. Yes, absolutely. Or as my husband would say, send them roses, because they are giving you a gift by showing you that you have more work to do. But most of us probably aren't quite at the place where we've got a lot of roses we're ready to.
Well, you can't complain that you're bored, because there's plenty to work on when things.
Oh,
go, you know,
never, no.
Sit there and hoard that and working
Yep.
on things, yeah, there's plenty
Yep.
to do, so that's one thing.
It's like on YouTube, you see somebody making a recipe, and you're excited because the title grabs you, and then
Right.
20 minutes later, they finally finish this recipe, and like, what do they do this and that for? And so in the comments, often people say, people are so creative,
Mhm.
they have a jive,
Right,
and
right.
we are
Yep.
creative, all
Yep.
the ways we can avoid the truth self.
Oh, we're amazing. We're beyond, we have to pat ourselves on the back for how well we resist everything. Yeah, yeah, it's mind-boggling. All right, I think we'll stop there and we'll go to that paragraph next week. All right, so everybody take a nice big deep breath and let it all go. Forgive us our illusions, Father, and help us to accept our true relationship with you, in which there are no illusions and where none can ever enter. Our holiness is yours. What can there be in us that needs forgiveness when yours is perfect? The sleep of forgetfulness is only the unwillingness to remember your forgiveness and your love. Let us not wander into temptation, for the temptation of the Son of God is not your will. And let us receive only what you have given, and accept but this into the minds that you've created and which you love. Amen. All right, go forth among the people.
Thank you. Thank you.